And our next guest says President Obama is putting politics before economics when it comes to the escalating border crisis. Fox Business Network Charles Payne, host of Making Money, joins us. Good evening, Charles. And
Good
tell
evening.
me, why do you say that he's putting economics ahead of, or politics ahead of economics?
Well, listen, you've covered the story from the emotional, heart-tugging point of view, but the fact of the matter is that you've got two faces of this immigration situation. On the illegal immigration side, a report done by Heritage says, on average, we have a $54 billion deficit. Your average immigrant household, illegal immigrant household, gets about $24,000 a year in benefits. They pay about $10,000 in taxes. You multiply that by how many are here. That's a huge, huge knot right there. That's a big knot that someone has to pay. Those are people watching this show. Now, you could argue the other side of this, Greta, and there's no doubt we're a nation built of immigrants. We believe in immigration. Everybody, I think, involved in the whole situation. But on the legal side, you go to Silicon Valley, a lot of jobs have started there, a lot of businesses have started there. But you're putting politics ahead of security and economics, and that's one of the factors that doesn't get brought up enough.
You know what I find so astounding about this whole thing? I mean, this is no big surprise. All of a sudden, it's sort of blown up on us recently. But, if you go back to July of 2010 when President Obama gave the speech at American University, he talks about government has a threshold responsibility to secure our borders. I mean, I went through the whole speech. I've got it in front of me. All these things he's going to do. He had the House was Democrat and the Senate was Democrat, and that would have been a perfect opportunity if he wanted to sort of smoothly get his policies in. And so now here we are in the summer, and the president's going to take a long vacation in August. The House and the Senate go on vacation in August, and they're going to dump us with this problem when it's their responsibility, and they've gotten us to this point. There's a lot of blame to go around on this. A lot of people aren't paying any attention to this, and this has been going on for years, and that does cost us, Charles.
It does cost us, but on the political side, the president is taking a gambit here that Hispanic voters will say that the Democrats are the ones who have the empathy, if you will. They're the ones who care about these kids. They're the ones who are thoughtful about these kids. They don't want to put them on a bus and send them back home. Therefore, when it's election time, they'll reward the Democrats. That's politics over economics.
Charles, I'll read you two other things he said. And it's made, this is a speech from July of 2010, and it's made worse by a failure of those of us in Washington to fix a broken immigration system. Well, he sure got that one right, but he didn't do anything. Here's another quote from his speech. Unfortunately, reform has been held hostage to political posturing and special interest wrangling. I mean, this is unbelievable. Nothing's done. This is the city of no consequence. You can just get up and say whatever you want and then you don't do anything.
You're right. Listen, I also want to point out the double-edged sword that is this giant welfare utopia that we have. People in America know that they don't have to take those low-paying jobs. You go to Alabama. These kids, 26-year-old, they don't want to work at a catfish farm. They can go on disability. So who takes these jobs? What's luring all of these people to this country? Yeah, it's not just citizenship, but it's all the benefits that come along with it, either including low-paying jobs or that same utopian social welfare system.
All right, Charles, thank you. Hope you come back.
Thanks a lot.
And President Obama, though, is heading to Texas this week. Is he going to the border to see for himself this growing crisis? No, not exactly. Think again. The president is skipping the border. He's going to Texas for 3 political fundraisers. And joining us, our political panel, Washington Examiner Susan Ferricchio, the Hill's AB star, and Washington Post Wes Lowry. Susan, I mean, in my wildest dreams, how he can even go to Texas for fundraisers and not at least take a helicopter and look at this or talk to somebody.
Well, politically, it's a smart move, because what is he going to do on the border? The optics actually would be worse for him to show up in all that chaos. I think
but if you say that, I mean, you talk about how he said in the July 2010 speech about politics, he's going down there to raise money. That's politics. Then he's going on vacation like everybody else.
He's been fundraising throughout his presidency ad nauseum. But what's interesting about the president is how he's been able to kind of be Teflon with all these big controversies. He never is seen in the mess. And he's done that with a bunch of things throughout his presidency, and this is an example of that. I think it would look worse for him politically to be standing there. And he's got what's he going to say? He's been so indecisive. What's he going to say when he's there?
Skip the fundraiser, because I think that looks bad as well. AB.
I think so too. I mean, I think once this just blew up, you have to make a choice. You either go to the border or you don't go to Texas at all, and you postpone the fundraiser. Susan might be right. It might be awkward, but he could also try to finesse a message that, we don't have enough rules. We need to get the system in place.
But when he says that, I go back to his July speech when he said that stuff to us. I mean, and he had the House and the Senate
true,
with Democrats.
But if he was there, you might not be there reminding him of the speech transcript, and maybe he could just talk about how he'd like to work it out.
I forgot.
Wes?
Yeah, I think I said with Susan here on this. I just don't know what he would gain by going to the border. I mean, the optics here that hurt him are that people now ask why he's not there.
Maybe it would indicate that he sort of cares. That would sort of like, or that at least, look, I go out to the scene of things because, even when I was trying murder cases, you go out to the scene so you get a better idea of what's going on.
It's an optic. But I think by the time these fundraisers even exist, he will have already rolled out what his proposal is for Congress. We're going to see top administration officials on the Hill tomorrow. I mean, so it's not as if the President of the United States or the administration is ignoring this issue, which is some of the implication that why didn't even go down.
If you read this speech from July of 2010, yes, he is ignoring it because he's outlined this, it tells that the sky is falling back in July of 2010 when he had the House and the Senate. And look at these people, and I don't know which side of the debate anybody's on, but this is a real humanitarian crisis, whether you're for it or against it. And it's a humanitarian crisis because the president did nothing and Congress did nothing. That's what
I really think that's why he can't set foot in Texas without going to the border, because you just can't avoid it. I think he should not set foot in Texas if he wants to avoid the optics. But seriously, everyone is watching this and reading about it every day now. It's growing, just like Congressman Goodlatte said, exponentially, the numbers. People are very worried about this. And at this point, he needs to be seen looking like he cares. And Governor Perry of Texas is saying it literally looks like he just doesn't care.
Well, I think the problem is he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't have a plan. If he had a plan, maybe he'd show up and talk about it. And I think that's the big problem.
Well, he certainly is. I mean, you say he doesn't have a plan, and that's even more appalling because it's not like it's not like this problem all of a sudden arose last week. I mean, as I go back to his July 2010 speech, that's 4 years ago.
Well, look what just happened today. He reversed himself on whether or not he would send kids back to their home countries if they weren't from a contiguous state. So I think that's showing that the administration doesn't know what it's doing right now.
But that is the point. It is the law. It is the law. If you come here from Central America, you don't get immediately deported like if you come here from Mexico. What is happening is lawful, and that's the problem.
Wes, how do you define President Obama's immigration policy?
It's hard to define the President Obama's administration
floundering?
policy. Inconsistent. I don't know about floundering, but I think that in need of definition, and I think that in the next few days on the Hill and here in D.C., hopefully we'll get some of that definition, but I think we've all got our fingers crossed on it.
I think when you see so much chaos, you see it when we're looking at these live pictures, we see so much chaos, people so upset, and we have children in this country unaccompanied, I think this really does fall on the president. I mean, it shows a lack of leadership and a floundering policy.
It could indeed be his Katrina moment, as some people have said, because it's a crisis. These buses are showing up in towns across America.
At least Katrina was a surprise.
Which is exactly why you don't show up in Louisiana and have a terrible photo op.
Sure.
And, I mean, the Katrina moment, we think about George W. Bush flying over the wreckage of Hurricane Katrina. This is exactly why President Obama doesn't go to the border.
Well, here's a photo op. How about calling Speaker Boehner and Senator Harry Reid to the White House and sitting down and talking about immigration instead of going off to those fundraisers?
We'll probably see that. You're more likely to see that than to see.
Well, actually, I think that would be a start. Anyway, panel, stand by.